Hey guys, today's video is all about the best possible advice that I can share with you guys when it comes to caring for this plant right here. This is a propagated Rhaphiphodora Decursiva. As you saw in the thumbnail, I have a lot larger of an example of that houseplant as well. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 5 care tips that you really should be considering when it comes to caring for these plants. Now, I haven't listed these in any particular order. They're not in order of importance or anything like that, but what I can tell you is you may be thinking of 1 or 2 of these things, but I've been sure to include a few, more than a few, that may come as a little bit of a surprise. So let's jump into this video. 5 things you ought to know when it comes to caring for your Rhaphiphodora Decursiva. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm Tyler, and if you like what you're seeing or you find this video to be useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, or better yet, you can hit that subscribe button. Now, to really show me some love, click on the bell for alerts and notifications for future content. And oh yeah, don't forget to check out my merch store, tylermossop.com. When it comes to the Rhaphiphodora, there are a few varieties. The Decursiva has to be my personal favorite from Southeast Asia. The leaves can get ginormous. Now, I've had this one for some time and it is growing. It's getting a lot bigger. There are more fenestrations on the leaves, which is really exciting. And I think it's almost about time to stake this larger houseplant that I have up, and maybe actually my propagated smaller one is ready to be potted up as well. If you are interested, I've done quite a few videos on the Rhaphiphodora Decursiva already. If you're looking for specifics like what soil mix to use and the ratios and all of the ingredients that I included in the soil mix that I use for mine, then you'll have to check out this video right here. I did have a whole drama with the Rhaphiphodora Decursiva I originally purchased, and that's the one that I chose to kind of chop off and propagate. But if you're interested in kind of getting the backstory of what all happened with mine, then you'll have to check out this other video right here. All right, guys, so this brings me to the 5 things that you ought to know when it comes to caring for your Rhaphiphodora Decursiva. Now, this first thing is something that has happened to me a couple of times, actually more than a couple of times, probably a few times, and that is when the leaves start to curl. And I've actually had some people comment down below on previous videos, and the same thing is occurring to them. And fortunately, because this has happened to me, I was able to provide some feedback to whomever it was that asked that, so thank you. So if you are noticing the leaves on your Decursiva starting to curl a little bit, now what you need to know is I keep mine right beside a dehumidifier, so it's not a humidity issue. It's actually, it actually comes down to watering and a watering issue. So the best advice I can give you when it comes to watering this houseplant is it's a good idea to give this plant a healthy watering when the top inch or 2 of the topsoil are dried out. Now, if you do notice curling leaves, what that means is you haven't watered it enough, or it's time to water it is another way to think about that. So that means that it's kind of dried out too much, and hence the leaves are starting to curl. So the best way to resolve this issue, if this is something that you're experiencing, is to give your Decursiva a good healthy watering. You don't want to overwater it, but just, you know, just enough to kind of evenly provide some moisture and water to the soil mix that you have there. And over the course of the day and the following day, you should notice kind of that sort of leaf curling disappear. All right, so this next thing I've already alluded to, and that's humidity. Now, humidity is pretty important when it comes to caring for this houseplant, and what I recommend is keeping your humidity levels in that sort of 60% humidity and above, and this will really allow for your Decursiva to super thrive and flourish. Now, I did mention the leaves curling, and that's kind of specific to water. However, humidity is also equally important, so something to think about and consider. Now, one of the kind of trickier things, or something that's taken me a little bit more time to figure out and a little bit of an iterative approach here on this, is the light setup and the type and brightness and all of that kind of thing when it comes to your Decursiva. Now, what I have found to work best for my Decursiva houseplants is to provide them with a very bright indirect light. And beyond that, I do try to provide some dapple light, or if you can provide a little bit of direct morning light or really, really bright indirect light. So close to a window, I keep mine kind of just off to the side of a south-facing window, so it's not getting any harsh direct light, but it is getting a really bright indirect light with some hits of direct sunlight in the morning when the light comes through my sliders and kind of on an angle and kind of goes behind the wall and hits my Decursiva. Now, I found that this is kind of the ideal setup for me. If I have my Decursiva a little bit further away in the room and further from that window, I just don't see it kind of thriving and flourishing as much. And I've noticed that also in the winter months when there's a lot less sun. So I've been very kind of conscientious of just making sure that this plant is getting enough light. And I kind of would recommend that you verge on it getting a little bit more light than less. And that seems to really do the trick when it comes to lighting. Another thing that is really great to know when it comes to caring for these plants is that you can water propagate them. And I think that's huge because water propagation is a really relatively easy technique in terms of propagation. And yeah, it's just super easy to propagate them. As you saw earlier, I've propagated one in water and it's done just fine. There's a really healthy, thriving root system that's grown on it. It has taken some time to get to that point, but what I do is I switch out the water probably every week or so. Now, we are on well water here, so there's lots of minerals and that kind of stuff in the water, and I haven't found that to be an issue whatsoever. And in actuality, it might have actually helped the Decursiva. Not quite sure on that. So if you have any tips or thoughts or feedback on that, definitely leave a comment down below. But if you've seen some of my past Decursiva videos in which I had a Decursiva that was just so leggy, it just kept growing, and there was the distance between each node was like at least 6, 8, 10, 12 inches, which is kind of crazy. So I was able to take a snippet from that and propagate it successfully. So really great thing to know that you can easily propagate these houseplants. So this final thing that you ought to know is something that is super important, that is not obvious, and something you really wouldn't know unless you did some research or watched this video about the Decursiva. Now, this last thing refers to the roots and the container that you want to use when you are repotting or potting up your Decursiva for the first time. So the root system on these plants do like to grow kind of down and deeper. So using a container that may not be as wide, but definitely has some height to it is really going to benefit this houseplant just in the way that the root system works. So getting a deeper container is going to make all the difference. Now, of course, this goes without saying, but a really good aeroid mix is what is going to you're going to want to use for potting up your Rhaphiphodora, and you'll have to check out some of those previous videos that I did on the ratios and soil mix and the ingredients that I threw in there. But I think we're gonna end on that deeper container. So I hope that all of these things are going to help you get your Decursiva to really thrive and flourish. And if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to leave a comment or question down below. I'll be happy to get back to you and help you with this plant. Well, that's it for me. Miss you guys already. Oh yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and check out my merch store, tylermossop.com. Until the next one.